Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka your friendly neighbourhood spoiler man, and this video we're breaking down everything you need to know about the Miles Morales game. Spider-Man 2 is obviously wall crawling its way onto the PlayStation 5 at some point, and this entry does an excellent job of teasing to us what could be happening in it. Now, in order to fully discuss what the overall arc of the game is, we have to firstly go over its story and discuss who the main players are. After the events of the first Spider-Man game, Miles has really started to come into his own, and thanks to the guidance that Peter provided him, he pretty much ends up switching places with him as the city's Spider-Man. It isn't the only thing that's been switched with Peter as well. God damn! Now the game opens with the pair taking down the Rhino after a botched convoy to the raft unleashes him in the city. This mission also introduces us to Miles' bioelectricity venom powers and the Roxxon Corporation, who become integral to the entry. Peter travels overseas with MJ to be her photographer, and Miles has to keep an eye out on the events that are going on in Manhattan. Throughout the game we discover that Roxxon's head of R&D, Simon Krieger, is in possession of an experimental new piece of technology known as Nuform. If you're familiar with the comics, then you'll know that this was actually a form of vibranium that was developed by the corporation. Nuform pretty much becomes the MacGuffin of the entry, and what the main plot revolves around, and what the ending of the game becomes tied to. Now on one side is Roxxon, and on the other is the Tinkerer, who we discover is Miles' close friend Finn. Finn is the leader of a group known as the Underground, and after setting up base inside Kingpin's tower, they've started to carry out attacks. Everything ties back to her brother, namely Rick Mason, who we discover was a scientist that worked at the corporation. After he learned that Nuform was poisoning people, he decided that he had to sabotage the company, and together with Finn, they set out to destroy the corporation's core. Rick was killed during this, and thus Finn has made it her mission to put an end to Nuform and the company's experiments. Now you may also know that Rick Mason is a character known as the Agent, and he will be appearing in the upcoming Marvel movie Black Widow, if it ever gets released. Whilst it does seem like he died during the core's explosion, you can never say never when it comes to the Marvel Universe, and we'll discuss this in more detail later. Miles gets caught up in the middle of it, and he also has to contend with the fact that his uncle Aaron is revealed to be the Prowler. If you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, you'll instantly be up to speed with it, but this game does a great job of developing their relationship beyond what we saw in that film. It's revealed that Aaron has been in league with Roxxon the entire time, and he betrays Miles after learning where the character plans to meet Finn. Aaron tells them not to harm Miles, however the corporation goes against this. Krieger interrogates Miles and then has his forces beat the crap out of him. Miles manages to escape with Finn after unleashing a massive venom blast, and Aaron pretty much gets given an ultimatum by Krieger. Krieger tells him that they can do what they want with Miles, and if he goes to the police that he will then go to jail along with them. Finn also decides that Miles is too much of a bad thing, and she beats him up badly and heads out to fulfill her mission. It all comes to a head when Finn returns to Roxxon in order to overload the core. It's revealed that Krieger actually changed the specs of the machine, and if it detonates, the core will destroy the entirety of Harlem along with itself. Miles and Finn go head to head, and the former eventually manages to convince the latter that destroying it will cost countless lives. It's too late though, and the core goes critical, which forces the pair to enact a plan to save the city. Miles absorbs the energy from the core, and Finn realizes that this is history repeating itself, and that Miles could end up sharing the same fate as her brother. Thus, she uses her Tinkerer gadgets to propel them both into the sky, far away from where it can do any damage. However, because Miles can't hold the energy in much longer, he must detonate while she holds him there, and unfortunately it appears that she dies as he unleashes the blast. Now I'm not 100% convinced that Finn died during this, and I do believe that both she and her brother will be back at some point. As we know, both are big characters that are integral to the Marvel Universe, and we never actually see the pair's bodies. Both Finn and Rick disappear as the core explodes, and though they aren't anywhere to be seen, that doesn't mean that they're gone. I really like the relationship that was built up throughout the game with Miles and Finn, and I can see the latter returning at some point in the future. It is possible that both are in an alternate dimension, and this could open the door for characters like Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man 2099. As for Krieger, the character is arrested and then sent to jail. It is revealed that Aaron actually went to the police, and though he was put in prison as well, the villain is now facing a reduced sentence because he handed over information on Krieger. Thus it is possible that Aaron too could return down the line, and it shows how far he's come from the beginning. Early on in the game we discovered that he ruined the relationship he had with his family because of his nighttime activities, but here it appears that he's willing to do the right thing, and thus we know that he will be accepted back with them in the future. Miles' mother also gets elected as a councilwoman, and Miles places a memorial to his fallen friends at the Trinity Church, though this does come slightly later. The game ends with Miles walking past the mural that we saw at the start of it, and though the artists had not painted his face in it at the beginning, we can now see it up there with Peter's, showing that the city has too embraced him as their saviour. Miles meets up with Peter, and the pair swing off together as a team, and that ends the main story of this spin-off. It's an awesome way to open and close the entry, but as this is Marvel, we also have to deal with a big post-credits scene which teases what's to come. Now if you're enjoying this video, then I'd absolutely love it if today was the day that you decided to subscribe to the channel. We're hoping to hit the 400,000 mark by the end of the year, and it would mean the world to us if you did. As a special thank you, we're giving away 3 copies of the Marvel Phase 2 box set on Blu-ray, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is make sure you subscribe with notifications on and drop a comment below. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 30th of November, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. Anyway, you may remember that the original game ended with us discovering that Harry Osborn was in fact not away on vacation, and that he was actually in a tank at Oscorp. We learned that Harry had been suffering from Oshtoran syndrome, and that Norman had placed a symbiotic life form on him in order to cure him. We can see in the cutscene that this black substance has bonded with the character, and I don't feel like anyone should get any prizes for guessing that this is in fact Venom. Norman orders that his son is released from the tank, and clearly this is setting up a lot of things. Now the green that is laced throughout the scene is definitely a colour of the Green Goblin, who of course is synonymous with the Osborns. With Harry pretty much confirmed as Venom, I actually think that his father will be the one taking up the mantle. If I was to make a prediction, I would say that I think Harry being prematurely set free will cause him to transform into the villain Venom. Norman will try and stop him from destroying the city, and thus he will don the Green Goblin costume in order to bring him in. This will allow for both the villains to be major antagonists in the next entry, and I love how we have this repetition of Peter's allies becoming the big bad. In the first Spider-Man game, Peter was of course having to contend with the fact that his mentor Doc Ock had turned to the dark side, and once more we will get this motif of Spider-Man's enemies also being his allies. This opens the doors for a lot of complications with Mary Jane, and it also enables characters like Carnage to be brought into the franchise. With Miles at his side, I really feel like the game's creators can throw a lot more at Peter, and thus I do think we will see far more villains in the upcoming PS5 release. Now there's also another very important character in this scene that you may have missed. Working on Harry is Dr. Kurt Connors, who fans of the franchise will know as the Lizard. I think these 3 characters being in the same place at the same time for the post-credits scene also lets the audience know that these will be the 3 main villains of the next game, and Connors could tie into the overall storyline in a number of ways. If Osborn is indeed trying to track down his son, it makes sense that he would have Connors getting involved, as he was a part of the experiments that they were carrying out. This could lead to the Lizard somewhat becoming a henchman of the Goblin, and we could watch as Connors attempting to help Norman catch his son leads to him transforming into a monster. I also found it interesting that this post-credits scene was shown from the perspective of Harry himself, and he may even be a playable character in the next game. If he is Venom, he will have similar powers to Peter and Miles, and they can go this route without changing too much of the gameplay. There are a wealth of possibilities they can travel down, and I'm just so happy that we have another stellar entry in the Spider-Man universe. Miles was a blast from start to finish, and what a way to kickstart the next generation of gaming. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game and what you want to see in a sequel. Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoyed this video then please drop a thumbs up, and make sure you check out our breakdown of the best fan theories on who Baby Yoda is. We go over the most likely ones from top to bottom, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. If you want to support the channel and get to see content early, then please consider clicking the join button below. You can also come chat to us on the Discord server linked in the description, or Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. Thanks for making it until the end of the video. You've been the best. I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.